Welcome to Wonder in the Weeds show, where every week we talk about how we live, love, and thrive in a world full of grief and change and just the messiness of everyday life. I'm excited to have you here. I'm Christy Ritz-King, and it's time to share with you. So I'm going to jump right into this week's weeds, because if you're listening to this episode on the day that it posts, it is New Year's Eve. And my weeds are the same ones every New Year's, which is the idea of New Year's resolutions. And I'll tell you why that's a weed for me. The idea itself of New Year's resolutions is not really the weed. If you want to make a resolution, if you want to sit down and commit to something, if you want to take time and reflect, I'm all for that. What I think gets upsetting is the sort of commercialization and the capitalistic view of New Year's resolutions, which typically means you must change this thing in order to be a better person, and we're going to sell you something to help you do it. Whether it's a gym membership or a new Peloton bike or a new, set of sheets, or maybe it's going to be a journal, or whatever the case, New Year's resolutions can become a time for people to sell things. And really what they're selling is the idea that you are not good enough as you are, and you should change something about yourself in this next year to be happier, better, healthier, whatever. That's the part that drives me crazy. And the reason that I feel so confident in saying all this is because I fell for it for years and years and years. Not because I'm somehow above it, or because I don't, I have never been the person who, joins the gym on January 1st, but mostly because I have been that person for a really long time in my life. And the weeds of it was somehow it was like time to think about all the things I hadn't done, or think about all the things I'd done wrong and how I could do them better or differently. And even more importantly, and even more in going with what this show is about, oftentimes New Year's resolutions became a time for me to think about my life as going to be good when fill in the blank, instead of looking at my life as what's good right now, or what am I thankful for, what am I grateful for, or what am I proud of right now. It became this thing of, oh, when I do this thing, then it'll get good. Then I can feel proud. Then I can feel good. And that is the opposite of what I want for myself and what I want other people to do as well. So I'm not arguing against taking time at the end of the year to reflect and even to plan. I love a good planning session for the next year. I used to lay out all these cookbooks and do like recipes for, days on New Year's Eve. It used to be the thing that I did. I would sit with like a cocktail or a cup of coffee and just spread out all the books and plan a bunch of different recipes and meals for the foreseeable future. And honestly, it lasted a decent amount of time. It wasn't like it's something I did that then was over by the second week in January. It was really more of I have a day where I'm not in charge of my kids because my husband's home. So let me sit and do the thing that I don't have time to do the rest of the year. So I'm all for that. I think New Year is a great time for that. It's a great time to sit and reflect and decide what you want and decide what you are happy that you have, and maybe decide, some other things for yourself. I just would say that with the caveat that it should be about you and your expectations, or you and your wants and needs, versus the voices from outside that are telling you what your expectations should be or what your wants and needs should be. Because that's where I think we all get ourselves into trouble. All those years I made pledges to myself to eat better or exercise more or fit into a different size clothes. That didn't lead to any kind of happiness. It almost never led to any kind of lasting change. And it certainly didn't make my life better. And that was even when I stuck with those changes. There were plenty of years where I pledged to do all of that stuff, and by the third week in January, I was done all of it, or I hadn't even started to begin with, even though I was, really motivated on December 31st. The times that New Year's resolutions, if you want to call them that, got better for me were when I realized I needed to be in charge of them for what worked with my life and what I wanted in my life. So it became a time where I could reflect on everything that had happened up to this point, both good and bad, and decide how I wanted to proceed in the future. And in all honesty, I think because I just have a teacher's brain, and I've always had a teacher's brain, and not just a teacher's brain, but then once you have kids, you have this like school year brain anyway. I actually do a lot of my quote unquote New Year's resolution stuff in August, because to me, September is actually the start of the year. and even in more recent times, I've become a quarterly person where I sit and look at, my life just seems to work that way. Once my kids got into upper high school and college, the calendar didn't make as much of the school year calendar didn't make as much of a difference to me, but it did enough in that the quarters or the seasons became more important. What am I going to do around these holidays? What am I going to do in the summer versus what am I going to do in the dead of winter versus, that kind of thing. I started to live a little bit more seasonally. So I sort of do the reflection in the New Year's resolutions, that behavior. I do it 3 to 4 times a year. Part 1 might be figuring out what works for you as far as reflecting and planning and whatever. I've, over the years, have been the kind of person that gets like a monthly journal or a weekly journal or things where not only am I writing things down in my calendar, but I'm supposed to sit and reflect on, to-dos and this and that. And I mean, 18,000 lists and buckets. When I tell you the thousands of dollars, and I might be exaggerating, but I don't think I am exaggerating. The thousands of dollars I have spent over the years on planners, because I think that's what's eventually going to make me a better person, is gross. It's gross to think about. I don't like to think about it because I don't actually really want to know. Again, I was looking outside to see how to change things, or I was looking outside for the thing that was going to make me feel better or make me feel more organized or make me feel more whatever, I don't know, motivated. And none of that ever worked. So the wonder in all of this, the wonder in these weeds, in these particular New Year's weeds, came from a friend that I met through a professional networking group we were in. Her name is Brittany Ross. Go find her. She now, I don't know her exact handle. I'll look it up and put it in the show notes, but I think on TikTok, she's like the creative thrifter or something of that nature. She does hilarious TikToks with, a variety of different things that are funny, but one of the things she does that's funny and productive is that she goes thrifting. She goes to like the bins at the Goodwill and comes out with all sorts of treasures that she then resells on eBay or keeps for herself or whatever. She's incredible. When I met her, she was really focused on finance. And one of the pieces of advice she had was to sit down and think of your finances at the end of the year. And one of the things she had instead of her resolutions was she had a list that was more of this, less of that. And it was, I think actually when she introduced it to me, it was supposed to be about your finances, like what do I need to spend more on and less on? But I have sort of adopted it over the years as what do I want more of in my life and what do I want less of in my life? And usually that comes from sitting and thinking about how the year has gone. And obviously you can't control all of this. Like obviously I would like less, ice presence in my city, but I can't really control that. But what you can control is the way you feel about things. So if you reflect on your year and you think about what felt great, what do I want more of feeling wise or internally, and how do I get that? So if you can reflect on the memories of like times, if you go back to like this past year and times that I felt really loved or really warm or really peaceful or really whatever it is you're looking for. Maybe you're not looking for any of those things. Maybe you're looking for, I want to feel more motivated, or I want to feel more, productive, or I want to feel more excited or something like that. Whatever you're wanting more of, reflect back on this year 2 times where you felt that. And then think about, well, what was going on then? First of all, what did it feel like? What does more motivated feel like inside your body? Because we use these feeling words, but oftentimes they're coming from our brain. I want to feel more motivated. I want to feel more productive. I want to feel more confident. But we don't connect that word to what it actually feels like inside our body. And if you're not watching right now, you could probably hear me pounding in the microphone because I'm literally tapping my chest. Because for me, a lot of those feelings I just said happen right here in my chest. I feel joy in my chest. I feel loved in my chest. I feel stress in my chest. So I'm either crunched over and closed in, or I feel this broadening, this expansion, this filling with warmth and energy when things are good. And I've only learned that over years of tuning in and noticing when things are going well and when they aren't. And I notice now when I'm crunched up and curled up, I notice that, and I purposely physically open myself back up again because I know that that allows space for things to feel good. So there's a connection, or there should be a connection, between what you say you want more of and the way that actually feels in your body. The sensations of that thing that we say, I want to feel more of this. Well, what does that mean to you? Because I bet you me feeling peaceful and you feeling peaceful doesn't feel the same way in each one of our bodies if we described it. It might, but I know I've worked with people over the years that it tingles in their toes, or they feel like a buzzy energy and that's good to them. Whereas somebody else might feel that buzzy energy and that's not good. That's anxiety provoking, or that doesn't feel, they don't like that feeling. So it's really individual, and it really depends on you tuning into your own self and your own senses and deciding, ooh, I like this and I don't like this. And then going back to, well, what can I bring into my life to feel more of this, or what can I release to feel less of this? Again, we can't control all of it. We can control our reactions to a lot of it, though. So we've talked over multiple episodes about how you can't sort of curate joy. You have to really intentionally just look for it out there. Like you can create your own joy, but really what is more effective is if you go and look for things that bring you joy that are already existing in the world, rather than trying to like create some image or create some scene. That often just ends up in unmet expectations, and it's actually more disappointing than not. But if you can decide every day, I'm going to go out and look for the wonder, I'm going to go out and look for the things that make me feel this way inside, then that's going to be more effective than I'm going to try to create this thing, create the wonder, create the magic, create the joy. I know it sounds like I'm maybe saying the same thing, but those two things are different. Curating something versus intentionally looking for something or intentionally noticing something, those are different. You can create your own joy, but typically that creation involves intentionally seeking it out. It's something that's already there. I was on a call a few weeks ago where somebody said, there's beauty happening all around us. And I thought, you know what? You're absolutely right. And it's our job to look for it. The world is not going to feed it to us. But that doesn't mean it's not happening. What the world is going to feed to us is the opposite of that. It's going to feed to us all the negativity and all of the muck and all of the evil and all of the hatred. And it's our jobs to filter that out and look for the beauty, because it's still there. It's just that we're not being told about it. So back to your Brittany list of more of this, less of that. Take some time at the end of the year to reflect on what was great this year. You know, I've spent a lot of time talking about the weeds on this podcast, but I'm also try at least to tell you the wonder that sort of helps balance out those scales for me. And that is the practice that I do. This year has been full of everything. It's been full of change. It's been full of grief. It's been full of loss. It's been full of deep joy. It's been full of celebration. You know, for everything that I've had to leave, I've gained something else. For everything that I've celebrated, I've done so with a little whisper of grief in the background, because there's people that aren't there to celebrate with me that I wish they were. It's all happening. And we just get to decide which part we spend our energy and focus on. There's all kinds of gurus out there talking about mindset. You just have to switch your mindset, flip your mindset, do. That sounds great, and it sounds easy, and it sounds like science, but what does it mean? Flip your mindset, switch your mind, change your mind. What are you talking about? For me, that involves the intentionality, the mindful practice of looking for the wonder, of looking for the weed in the weeds, of trying to sort of squeeze the weeds aside to find the wonder. It isn't me replacing the weeds with the wonder. It isn't me ignoring the weeds because of the wonder. It isn't me assuming that finding the wonder means the weeds are going to go away. None of that is going to happen. And sometimes I think this idea of switching your mindset is a little too simple. It almost speaks to that idea that, oh, well, if you just change your mind, you won't notice all the other stuff. No, that's not true. It might work for a little while, but eventually life's going to catch up with you and it's going to feel overwhelming if you have just been either ignoring or pushing it aside or pretending like you have blinders on and you can only see the good. Seeing the good is a wonderful practice, but recognizing that you also have plenty of other not so good stuff around is healthy to acknowledge both. So the more of less than list has to keep in mind what you can control. How do you get more of those good feelings in your life? And how do you have fewer or less of those feelings of negativity and overwhelm? What do you need to do to be able to do that? It's a lot on us. It's a lot on you. You know, there's a lot of individual stuff there for you to do. And I'm not trying to sort of excuse all of the systems that are in place that make it impossible for you sometimes to do that. What I am saying is, where is the part you can carve out? How can you find the beauty in the mess? How can you find the wonder in the weeds? And how do you do that more in your life? How have you done it? So that's the reflection point, is like, look back at the year and think about the wonderful parts of it. You know, we celebrated some amazing milestones for my kids this year, and I really feel like we did a good job of it. You know, we created this space for joy amidst a whole bunch of other weird stuff that was going on. And I'm really proud of the way we did that. And I would like more of that in my next year to come. And I can't do that the same exact way. No one's going to graduate this year. So I can't have those same moments of celebrating the end of school career milestones. But I can remember how it felt in those moments and try to look for other opportunities to feel that same way. So can I celebrate something else for my kids? Can I celebrate something of myself? Can I spend time around the people that brought those feelings to me? You know, one of the things that has come up for me in this move is friendship. And do I start over in this new community and try to create the friendships that I was so lucky to have in my old, not only in the childhood and where I grew up, but in my old neighborhood where I raised my kids? And I don't think that's possible. I'm not saying that I've given up trying to make friends, but I am saying I've shifted my expectations a little bit from trying to recreate the friendships I had in the old place to actually spending energy and time cultivating those very same friendships in a new way. So I'm an empty nester. I have a little bit more freedom to go where I want to go and do what I want to do when I want to do it. And that includes really trying in the new year to make time to visit with friends. Either they come here, I go there, we meet somewhere in the middle. But it's really just the time with each other that matters. Right before I moved, I have these 3 high school girls that are I call them my high school girls. They're my soul sisters. They're my best friends. They're the people that have, I'm going to get a little emotional. I have learned to value friendships from people who knew my mother, because she died when I was so young. Relatively, I was 31. I wasn't so young, but I was young in my adulthood. And I moved right after she died, and I moved 2 years later. And so no one in the place where I raised my children, no one knew my mom. So there's a type of friendship that I have of people who knew me as somebody with an alive mother. And that sounds like a really weird thing, but if you get it, I'm talking to you. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because those girls, my high school girls, those are my girls. They knew my mom. They knew me with a mom. They knew me as a teacher. They knew me in Maryland. They knew me, all the things that I wasn't when I moved to New Jersey and became friends with some really amazing women there too. My point is, since I moved away, we have really tried almost every year to get together even just for like an overnight if we can. Oftentimes it was at my house because I lived 5 miles from the beach. So they would come visit me in the summer and we'd spend the day on the beach and we would just have a great time together. And I loved it. And I was always jealous of their car ride because they got to spend those 3 hours together, like giggling and telling stories and laughing. And I always found myself so jealous of that because I really wanted to be part of that too. So now we don't live near each other at all anymore. They can't just hop in their car and we can pick a weekend. But right before I moved, what we did was we just rented a hotel room in Maryland and we all met there for the night because somebody was coming from a like cross country trip or a European or Asian vacation. Somebody was maybe on the way back to take a kid to college. Like we all were like, we literally have 24 hours where we can meet each other. I was in between, moving from New Jersey to Minnesota. And so we had 24 hours. We all met at this hotel room. We literally sat on the back patio of the hotel for 7 hours. I think we ordered DoorDash pizza. And then we went to bed. We woke up and went to breakfast. I went home. They went home. That was that. So it was very quick. But what I learned from it was that's all I need is time with them. It doesn't matter where. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a fancy vacation. It doesn't have to be a beach house. It doesn't have to be anything. It just has to be a hotel on a off a major highway where we all can giggle and have that sort of like gut laughter, the stuff that like these are the people who know me the best of anyone in the world. And no matter how much time or distance is in between us, that is an invaluable gift to be able to have people in your life like that. So rather than try to like make new people like that, that's impossible, right? You can't make new friends that have known you since you were 13. So I've decided in 2026, what I want more of is that feeling that I get when I'm around them. So I will try to find time, find space, find the finances to be able to get to them somehow, even if it's, in a hotel room off the side of a highway for 24 hours. Same thing with the women that my village in the town where I raised my kids. Like, I just want to be with them on somebody's birthday dinner. Like, we don't have to make an elaborate vacation. We don't have to plan something. We don't have to wait until we can all do it at the same time because then it never happens, right? And instead of, banging my head against a wall out here trying to make those same types of friends, I'm just going to spend time figuring out how to go spend time with those friends instead. And that's sort of where I've come to this more of less than. I want more of the nourishment that comes from spending time with people who really know you and less of the frustration of trying to make new people who really know me. Part of the reason I started the Women of Wonder community was because I wanted that community. I knew the power of an online community because it's easy. You don't have to worry about travel arrangements. You don't have to worry about planes getting canceled. You don't have to worry about car trips. You don't have to worry about getting babysitters for your kids. It's 1 to 2 hours once a month where you get to just go be with people who get you and who laugh with you and who cry with you and who understand you and who you understand right back. And my hope in creating that community was that I got that out of it, but also that I could help other women get that out of it too. So that's another thing I want more of in 2026 is I want more of that Women of Wonder community. I want more of that community connection and closeness and just women getting a chance to be women. So I don't have resolutions. I don't have ways I'm going to fix myself or do it better or, get more organized or cook more healthy or eat more greens or whatever. Yes. Do I always sort of have those things in my mind? 100%. Would I like to move my body more? Yes, always. That's always a goal. I'm always going to have a goal of move more, eat better, worry less. Always. The difference now is I'm not staking my year on those. I'm not planning for that in a way that says, well, I don't really get to enjoy my life or feel good about myself until those things are achieved. And I'm instead looking at my life as what's great about it? How do I get more of that in it? And what wasn't so great? And how do I release that going forward? And then the rest of it all just comes. Because when you feel good about yourself and when you're surrounded by people who love you and when you spend time doing things that make you feel good, all the other goals just get hit. And isn't that what it's all about anyway? So my challenge to you this New Year's is take some time for yourself to reflect on all that you've done and all that you've experienced and all that you've gathered up to this point. Good, bad, indifferent. Just reflect on it all. And then, like my brilliant friend Brittany, ask yourself, what do I want more of? What do I want less of? How do I get that? All right. Thank you for listening. I hope you come back next year to hear us more. And if you have any more want any more information about the Women of Wonder community, please send me an email or click the link below to get more information on what we do there and how to sign up. Can't wait to see you in the new year.